everyone. It is really my pleasure to bring to you our special guest, Mrs. Brenda from Evanston, Illinois. She's a mother of 3 adult children, grandmother to 7, wife of 40 years, and is using her expertise of 35 years working her way up in the insurance industry to connect with others in her community. I'm excited for the conversation. Mrs. Brenda, welcome to the Fireside Chat. We are definitely glad you are here.
Good morning. Thank you, Elton. Good morning to all of you. It is a pleasure for me to be here. I am really excited, a little nervous, but really excited. So thank you for having me this morning.
We are glad you're here. There's nothing to be nervous about. You're among friends, and I've already heard portions of your story, so I can't wait for you to let everyone else know about it. For those of us who have never been to Evanston, let's start off with telling us what it's like and why do you have so much passion for your community?
Certainly. Evanston is nestled just north of downtown Chicago. It's a really medium-sized community. We've got maybe 77,000 people who live here in Evanston, but it's right on the lakefront. It is a beautiful tree-lined streets type of community. It's a huge worship community. As a matter of fact, Evanston was founded by a couple of Methodist ministers, and they were also instrumental in founding Northwestern University, which sits right here in the heart of Evanston, right on the lakefront. My passion for the community stems from a couple things. Number one, Evanston purports itself to be this equitable community where everyone is treated fairly, and it's sort of like the story about, what I want to be when I grow up. It is growing in that direction. We aren't there yet. So my passion for this community is helping it to arrive at that place of equity and fairness for all of its residents.
I know this is your community, and it's a community that you've had a chance to raise your family in. As I mentioned earlier, you're a wife of 40 years, a mother of 3, grandmother of 7. That's all to be celebrated there. Definitely passionate about your family. Can you tell us more about your family dynamic?
Certainly. So, as you said, I'm married. We'll be married 43 years in September of this year. So we got a couple more years on that 40.
Congrats.
Our children, they were all born in Evanston, all raised in Evanston, attended Evanston public schools. Our oldest is about to turn, and he is a senior level. He holds a senior level position for a large medical insurance underwriting organization. Our middle child is a daughter, a girl. She is an educator she lives in Canada, but works in Michigan. So she crosses the border twice a day to go to work. She works in a public school system. She was a teacher at the high school level, but has since, in this past year, entered the DEI arena in her school district. So I'm super proud of her. Our youngest son lives in Michigan, and he is a manager designer in the automotive industry. So all 3 kids are doing very well. The 2 younger ones are graduates of Michigan State University, go Sparties, and our middle one got her graduate degree at the University of Michigan. Our family dynamic was as such. Our home was the hub for the neighborhood kids. We always wanted to know where our kids were. And so our home was always open to their friends, always. Our first house, we lived in a neighborhood that had a lot of kids, and so all the kids would congregate, which gave us an opportunity to be an influence to the other children in the neighborhood. Then we moved, had to find bigger quarters, and we moved right across the street from our high school. And so the kids were able to come and go as they sort of chose, and bring their friends in. One of the things that we always stressed with our kids was they had the right to have their own opinion about things, but we as their parents had the final say so. So we tried to allow them the space to develop their own perspective about the world while still being able to sort of guide and mold those ideas. And I think that has allowed us to congratulate their successes and to encourage their growth and development. And they are very effective among their peers. And particularly with my daughter. My daughter became the English teacher that I thought I would become, coming through school. I graduated high school, went to college, got pregnant in college, came home, had to have the baby. And it was 20 years later that I went back to school to finish my undergraduate degree. It's a whole nother story. But my daughter became the English teacher that I always wanted to be. And she's just done a phenomenal job of it. And, I applaud her. So, that's kind of, if that gives you the idea of our family dynamic. We are a very close family. My sons tend to call me when they need business advice because they know I've spent a number of years in a professional environment. My daughter is beginning to do that now, having that trust and confidence in guiding her and helping her to navigate the terrain that she's in, even though my background isn't education, but just being able to help her navigate some of the people things. So it's a long way around answering your question, but
No, I love it because one of the reasons why I invited you on is because I feel like you are a success story and you've been able to raise success stories of your own in your children. So I love that. I'm curious. I know you mentioned that community was big, especially for your children. Have you seen instances where they are building their own community where in their respective lives?
Yes. Interesting that my daughter lives in Canada. Her husband is Canadian. He's Nigerian Canadian. They live in Canada. And so for her, she didn't have the network of friends in Canada. So she's working to build that out. And there are cultural differences, US to Canada, Canada to Nigeria. And so watching her build her community in Canada has been really exciting for me. The thing that occurs is people tend to come and go where she lives. They come, they work for a while, they leave, they go someplace else in Canada or whatever. So she's constantly replenishing her community in Canada. Our youngest child has maintained the same group of friends, a close-knit group of friends, since high school. And he's 40. So he's got 20 years worth of his sort of network across the country that he stays in contact with. And our middle child, the oldest one, he just kind of keeps a few friends around. He doesn't go out a lot. He's raising, his own children. So yeah, it's been interesting to watch the kids build their own communities.
When I spoke with you previously, you mentioned 2 rules that you live by consistently that helps you put passion into everything that you do. Would you share those 2 rules?
Oh, absolutely. My mother used to tell, my mother passed away a number of years ago, but she used to say to me, "You're always busy. You're always doing something." And I said this to her, "Mom, I never want to waste a minute of the day. Life is precious. We don't get a second run at this." And so number one, try to maximize every moment of every day, whether that's cooking, reading, cleaning, being on the phone. I'm an entrepreneur now, on a whole nother career, working in that, but I want to maximize the day, never waste a minute. It's too precious. The second thing that I really live by is that I want to live my life in such a way that when I die, there's nothing left. So it's like taking things out of the bucket list on a daily basis, finding new meaning in life on a daily basis, finding a new purpose, somebody to help, some place to go, some book to read, some video to watch, something. I want to fill my life with things and purposes to the point that when I die, there's nothing left. I've done it.
I love that. Two great rules there. You mentioned it briefly. You've been retired for 10 years, but you have not been sitting still at all. You've been busy maximizing those minutes. Could you tell us what your main goal is right now?
In what I do now, I'm a licensed life insurance agent working in the financial services industry. And my goal is to help break generational poverty. The organization that I work with, their number one goal is financial literacy for every family in America. When you look at the disparity in income, you look at the disparities with respect to homelessness and income levels, blah, 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 blah. There is definitely a curse of generational poverty, primarily in Black and Brown communities. I mean, there are a lot of other communities that suffer, but because of who I am, my focus is basically Black and Brown communities. That's huge to me. If I can help break the cycles through education, then families can do better for themselves. People can protect themselves. They can protect their families. They can leave a legacy to the next generations. I remember when my mother passed away, my family, my dad, who's been gone a number of years, had taken out an equity line of credit on our home, not an equity line, reverse mortgage. That's what it was. When my mother passed away, that reverse mortgage balance was still sitting out there, and my siblings and I, we didn't want to spend that kind of money to pay for it. So what did we have to? We had to give the house back to the bank, who then sold it to someone who could afford it, and who renovated it, and who sold it again, and they made a really good profit. My goal is to help our communities avoid those situations. Now, I'm not saying that reverse mortgages are bad. They're, my parents could access it when they could, and it helped. But if we can change our mindset from reverse mortgages, from GoFundMes, from having to stand on corners, it's the mindset. And my goal for the next however many years God gives me on this earth is to work toward breaking the curse of generational poverty.
I love hearing you say that. I'm curious if you are, we know that there are stereotypes out there that have irresponsibly viewed our communities and framed our communities as being financially illiterate. Are you finding that some of the hardworking people in our communities have settled for short-term planning as a result of lack of money being invested into our communities?
Yes. It's funny that you say that, because I was thinking about something this morning and came up with this quote that I'm going to post out on the news feed that says, "You can't fund long-term dreams with short-term thinking." Okay. Money that is invested in our communities, and I just sense that eventually it's going to just dry up. People are waiting for a handout and not a hand up. And that's a mindset. And it's a mindset that's perpetuated in our homes, in our communities, even in our schools. We're not educating our kids to be thinkers, to say, why not, instead of what if? I was listening to a podcast, one of the UpTogether podcasts. It was, the title was a dollar out of 15 cents or something like that. It's really, really an amazing podcast. And one of the guests on the podcast, Angel, talked about changing the mindset. That is huge. Until we can let our governments and our local officials see that we can do it ourselves, then they're going to keep thinking that we need them to help us. Now, there's nothing wrong with help. And I think, Elton, you and I, talked the other day about the bootstrap theory. Great thing to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but you're not going to go far. We need someone to come alongside us and pull up on each side to help us, okay? So part of that means getting people to think differently about how we live, about how we work. In my business, it's helping people to see that they can get their hard-earned money to work better for them. We do the financial literacy piece, and the greater part for me, and forgive me if this is sort of a PSA or personal announcement, I can teach you how to save money. I can teach you how to put money in the right places. But if I don't give you the opportunity to do it, what have I really done? What have I really done? And so in the organization that I'm working with, we not only teach people how to make their money work better for them, but we give them an opportunity to use the learning in a career. So it's about the mindset. I mean, we've got to get people to change their minds about how we live, how they live, how their family. What are we passing on? What am I doing?
I would say that you are proof that our communities have experts within the community who serve the community in that capacity to try and change that mindset, or to show proof that there is value and financial literacy within our communities. What have you learned about yourself as you work to teach those who want to experience economic mobility? They want to seek you, or seek you being able to serve as a financial resource?
What I've learned about myself is that I'm a little more resilient than I thought I was. I mean, because a lot of people say no. A lot of people don't want to know. So I encounter people who say no a lot. They're not ready. They think they're okay. They don't want to know what they need to know, but don't know. And so I think I've learned to be a little more resilient. I've also learned about me that I was a procrastinator for a while. That a lot of things that I was telling myself, yeah, we're going to do that, I just kept pushing it off to the side. So I sort of had to face me and say, come on, girl, pull it together. We don't get anything done by putting things off. We have to, if we're going to do them, we need to do them now. I've also learned about myself that I like helping people. I mean, I knew it, but now I really know it. Because when you go into the trench, no matter what's in that trench, and you're willing to stay in that trench to see change take place, that's what I see in myself now.
I love that. I love that. I'd like to shift to how you crossed paths with UpTogether. It's the Evanston Equitable Recovery Fund, where you and other participating individuals receive monthly investments, $3,000 over a series of months. This fund was one that mirrored the city's reparations program in Evanston. Can you share that experience, and even if you don't mind, what you use the funds for?
Sure. I'll tell you, I don't even remember how the information about the fund got to me. I don't remember. I did not go out seeking it. It's like It's like your email to me popped up in my email box. Okay, the message on the news feed just popped up, in my message box. And so I thought, well, here's an opportunity to take advantage of a resource to do a better good. So it was $3,000, $300 a month. Excuse me. I did use some to, pay off some piddly bills and buy some groceries. But I had two friends who, one is blind and she's been on dialysis for years and years and years. And I knew she's not an Evanston resident, so I knew she wasn't going to be accessing this fund. I was able to share some with her, and another friend of mine who does live in Evanston. She's almost retired. I was able to help her take care of a couple of issues that she was having. So it was great. It was wonderful.
For those of you who were wondering, Ms. Brenda said, she mentioned the news feed and how I messaged her on the news feed. Ms. Brenda is part of the community site. And so she's been seeing the social component that we've been able to build. And I just kept seeing her have these really engaging posts and really caring about the community and connecting with others. I'd love for you to just share a little bit about that experience, being able to connect a little bit more socially with members who weren't there in Evanston, that they're spread out throughout the country.
Absolutely. So when I came upon the news feed, and I think that the general news feed has like 2,700 members. I thought, great, this is not a TikTok, it's not an Instagram, but it's a great social community. And I've made reference to the community a number of times in my circles. But there was nothing out there. I mean, a hello, a good morning, that's fine. But I didn't really see a lot of engagement. I didn't really see a lot of motivation. I saw a lot of, can you help me? Which, please don't get me wrong, people need help. People need help. And so to the level that I was able to respond, just posting a flyer, like I remember I posted a flyer about 211 locally or in Chicago. There was another flyer that I had that just, gave out information for people that need help. Okay, so that was fine. But I didn't really see the engagement of people building one another up. And I thought, I'm going to try it. And I have. And so I don't do it to get the likes. It's to help encourage and build people and get you thinking about something different. I have also used the site to invite people to a business overview for the business that I'm in. Maybe there's someone out there who's looking for another revenue stream or looking for another opportunity to have a better income, improve your life. So I have used the site to invite others into the arena that I'm in. A couple people have engaged. I don't know if they've attended. I haven't been able to get a response, but it's out there. That's the thing, it's out there. And to be able to motivate someone, I don't know how I'm affecting people, but I'm praying that I am. To the point, Elton, you saw it. Someone else is seeing it. I don't know at the end of the day how it's affecting them, but it's out there and that the opportunity is there. So I love the site. I love the social site. I truly, truly love it.
Well, thank you for engaging and taking the lead there. UpTogether is about systems change and policy change in ways that no longer limit our community's ability to get ahead and thrive. I'm curious, you spent 35 years in the insurance industry, working your way up there, and you were able to see certain groups of people, certain communities benefit from various policies and the awareness that certain policies and resources existed. Are there any benefits or resources that you've noticed our communities actually missing out on or unfairly missing out?
Homelessness is huge. And even here in Evanston, where we want to be this equitable community, where we want people to thrive in community with one another, if we can't level the playing field for them or work toward providing livable income, livable wages, safe, secure housing, access to transportation, and allowing people to retain the dignity that they have without feeling, that you're controlling me because you gave me this resource. That's really kind of where my thoughts and my heart go. And it's so important. Again, I think about this bootstrap thing. It's very easy to point to someone and say, well, if you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you'll be fine. But if I come alongside you and take one side of that boot and someone else takes another side, then we can help lift you. We can help lift you. Allow me just a second to share this. Evanston's large worship community. I'm a believer. I attend church. Last Sunday, we had this lesson in our Sunday school class about this man who was every day laid at the side of a pool. Laid at the side of the temple to beg. Someone brought this man who was lame to this place and laid him there, knowing that all he would do was beg. Okay, mindset. Two guys come along. He looks at the lame man, looks at the two guys and says, hey, can you give me money? And they say, we don't have money, but what we do have, we'll give you. They take him by the hand and lift him up, and he begins to walk. Now, the story has, of course, it's biblical context, but I translated that into our daily life. How often are people in our community just pushed to a place and expected to live, to thrive, to do the best you can, hoping someone will give them a hand out? But how often does it happen that someone comes along and takes people by the hand to lift them up? Different way of thinking. Different way of thinking.
That is powerful. Very, very well said. Thanks for sharing that. This is an amazing conversation, and thank you just for being our guest. Thank you for teaching us, and thanks for sharing your journey and your passions and your 2 rules. Thank you for all of that.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate the opportunity and getting a chance to meet all of you coast to coast. It has been wonderful. I appreciate it. If you ever need anything else from me, holla at your girl, okay? Holla at your girl.